I would rather study. I would prefer to study. I would prefer studying. I prefer to study. I prefer studying. Please repeat. Wouldn't you rather come back later? I wouldn't rather come back later. Would they prefer to get another one? They'd prefer to get another one. Would they prefer studying tomorrow? They would prefer studying tomorrow. Wouldn't they prefer to eat there? They wouldn't prefer to eat there. Would she prefer to tell them alone? She would prefer to tell them alone. Wouldn't you rather learn Spanish? I wouldn't rather learn Spanish. Would he prefer walking there? He'd prefer walking there. Would he prefer watching that TV program? He'd prefer watching that TV program. Wouldn't she rather listen to that music? She wouldn't rather listen to that music. Would they prefer to discuss it tonight? They'd prefer to discuss it tonight. Do you prefer going there alone? I prefer going there alone. Didn't they prefer to take care of the kids? They didn't prefer to take care of the kids. Will he prefer meeting them at 6? He'll prefer meeting them at 6. Doesn't she prefer to do it herself? She doesn't prefer to do it herself. Did they prefer practicing at night? They preferred practicing at night. Didn't they prefer to pay him back today? They didn't prefer to pay him back today. Doesn't he prefer to travel in the winter? He doesn't prefer to travel in the winter. Won't they prefer to go swimming there? They won't prefer to go swimming there. Will he prefer shopping at that store? He'll prefer shopping at that store. Didn't they prefer eating ice cream? They didn't prefer eating ice cream. What would you prefer doing? I'd prefer just resting at home. When would they rather go to visit her? They would rather go to visit her on Friday. Who prefers waking up early? She prefers waking up early. What would you prefer talking about? I would prefer talking about him. Who would you prefer driving there with? I would prefer driving there with him. When would you rather come back to get it? I'd rather come back to get it in the afternoon. Where did she prefer relaxing? She preferred relaxing at their house. Who would rather bring it to you? He'd rather bring it to me. Wouldn't you prefer to have a cup of coffee? I wouldn't prefer to have a cup of coffee. Will he prefer showing it to her first? He'll prefer showing it to her first. Won't they prefer to get paid in advance? They won't prefer to get paid in advance. When would you rather take your medicine? I'd rather take my medicine after breakfast. Where does she prefer going to get pizza? She prefers going to get pizza there. Who preferred going to sleep late? She preferred going to sleep late. When did he prefer to go to the health club? He'd prefer to go to the health club at night. What would she prefer buying him for lunch? She'd prefer buying him hamburgers for lunch. Who would she rather invite to the party? She would rather invite her friends to the party. Wouldn't he prefer to go to college there? He wouldn't prefer to go to college there. Where would she rather go on a date with him? She'd rather go on a date with him to the movies. Who would you prefer picking? I would prefer picking my friends.